Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive strategic shift happening in India's auto tech industry. You see, something huge is going on, and all the old rules for how to succeed, they're being torn up and rewritten as we speak.
For decades, the name of the game in the auto world was so simple: just sell more cars. Volume was everything. Well, that game is over. The new game isn't about the metal shell anymore. It's about what's humming and thinking inside it. The real fight now is this complex, strategic battle to own the technology, the very brains that make a modern car go.
So, what does this massive reboot actually look like? Well, the entire industry is basically building a new foundation for how it creates value, and it goes way, way beyond just counting how many cars roll off the assembly line.
And this new foundation? It's really built on three huge pillars. First up, you've got to navigate this super complex transition between powertrains, from old-school gas engines to hybrids and all-electric. Second, you have to jump on this China Plus One opportunity as big global companies look to India to make their supply chains safer. And third, there's a massive, and I mean massive, wave of investment happening to build all the capacity for this future. You nail these three, and you're ready to play.
All right, so that brings us to the very first new rule of the game. And it's a big one. What's inside the car now matters more than the car itself. It's a battle for what the industry calls content. Now, the one metric you absolutely have to understand to get this shift is content per vehicle, or CPV. It's the total dollar value of all the parts one supplier puts into a single car. And we're not talking about lug nuts and bolts here. We're talking the high-value, high-tech stuff. The electronics, the software, the advanced safety systems. It's literally the car's brain and its nervous system. And that is the new, true measure of success.
And look, here's the proof of just how powerful this CPV idea is. The entire industry saw car sales grow by about 9%. That's pretty good. But a company like Minda, which is totally focused on high-tech content, saw its revenue explode by nearly 20%. They didn't just sell more stuff because more cars were sold. They dramatically outpaced the market because the slice they owned of each car was worth so much more.
Now, this isn't just happening by chance. This growth is being fueled by two really powerful forces. On one side, you've got the government pushing new rules, demanding better safety and emissions tech. And on the other side, you've got us, the buyers, demanding cars packed with cool features, from fancy touchscreens to systems that help us park. Both of these roads lead straight to higher content per vehicle.
That leads us to the second new rule, and this one is all about the money. In an industry that's changing this fast and this much, capital is absolutely everything. How you invest it, how you borrow it, and how you generate cash, that is what separates the winners from the losers.
And what's so fascinating is that we're seeing two completely different financial playbooks emerge. First, you have the fortresses. Think of a company like Endurance. They have rock-solid balance sheets, they're generating tons of cash, and they can fund their own growth. Then you have the leveraged growers like JTEKT. They're borrowing a lot of money to build for the future, making a huge bet that it'll all pay off down the road. It's a classic tortoise versus the hare story, but, with corporate finance.
But, and this is a big but, there's a potential landmine hiding in the numbers. While some companies' cash flows look amazing on paper, the source material warns of a huge red flag, that some of this financial strength is, and I quote, artificially inflated by a systemic and potentially unsustainable stretching of supplier credit terms. What does that mean in plain English? It means big companies are taking a really long time to pay their smaller supplier. How long? Well, get this. The data shows one major player, Motherson, takes, on average, 142 days to pay its bills. That's almost 5 months. Now that looks great for their cash flow in the short term, but it puts incredible strain on the entire supply chain and raises some really serious questions about whether that's even sustainable.
Okay, so with the core business of making car parts getting more mature, the third new rule is, well, it's pretty brutal. Diversify or die. The smartest companies know they can't just rely on the car anymore. They have to find new places to grow.
And they're really placing their bets in two main ways. The first is what we call adjacent diversification. This is where you take what you're already great at and apply it to a related field. A perfect example is Bharat Forge, using its world-class engineering skills to get into defense. It just makes sense. The second path is way riskier. It's conglomerate diversification. This is a company like Motherson taking a giant leap into a totally different world, like aerospace, basically trying to build a new growth engine from the ground up.
And let me tell you, these are absolutely high-stakes gambles. But for some, they're already paying off in a huge way.
Bharat Forge's move into defense isn't just a plan anymore. It's been validated with a massive order book worth over 9,400 crore rupees. At that point, it's not a bet on the future. It's a real value-creating business today.
But all this fighting over hardware and parts? That's just the opening act. The final frontier, the ultimate battleground, isn't for the car's body. It's for its brain, the software, the data, and all the services that run on top of it.
This is where the real long-term money is going to be made. The whole model is changing. Forget selling a physical part just one time. Instead, imagine subscribing to new software features in your car, or companies paying to get access to the data your car generates. And of course, there's the holy grail, Advanced Driver Assistance Systems, or ADAS, which is the road that leads to fully autonomous cars.
And you can already see the key players making their moves. You've got giants like Bosch and Motherson pushing hard to be the leaders in ADAS. And then there's this really clever play from Schaeffler. They bought a platform called Koovers, not just to sell more parts, but to get their hands on priceless data from the repair market. That's a pure strategic move to win the future data war.
So it all boils down to this one huge question. As cars finish their transformation from being metal boxes into being powerful computers on wheels, who's going to win the future? Is it the company that mastered building the body, or is it the one that masters writing the brain? The answer to that is going to define this entire industry for the next 100 years. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.